Hello, this is Cody, aka Recovery Turtle. Today I want to talk about boundaries. This is a critical concept when it comes to recovery from a behavioral addiction such as sex. In substance abuse programs, members strive to abstain from a substance such as alcohol or drugs. Behavior programs, people will have to often integrate the problematic behavior into their lives to some degree. On the one hand, there's food addicts. No addict can stop eating, lest they die. Rather, they must learn to interact with food in a new way and cut out those particular foods that are causing them harm. On the other hand, gambling addicts are probably able to avoid all gambling as an ideal. I really don't know, I'm not a gambling addict. But sex addicts can and do, when appropriate, become celibate. In some cases, the addict has already pledged or vowed celibacy, though they fail to live up to their vow. Most of us, though, have either made no such vow or we've vowed to be sexual with only one person. The reality is that these boundaries are often not quite clear. So, like the food addict, most of us will want to continue being sexual in some way, and we have to integrate sex into our lives in a healthy way. We have to have proper boundaries when it comes to our sexual behavior. In the case of the married person, it may be clear that adultery breaks our boundaries. But pornography and masturbation, well, that's less clear. And often that depends on one's relationship with their spouse. In the case of someone who has made a religious vow, it is sometimes but not always understood that any sexual activity, including masturbation, is forbidden. However, I've heard from some who say that they justified anonymous sex on the grounds that it didn't count because they didn't know who the person was. It was anonymous. It wasn't really sex. If this sounds insane to you, that's the insanity of the addiction speaking. If we are to have any hope of recovery, we need to know our boundaries. This is a common question to hear in youth programs at churches. How far is too far? The best response I've heard and given is that you know you've gone too far when you fall off the cliff and you hit the bottom. Well, that's not the best way to find out, though, is it? Is the boundary of the cliff the point just before your center of gravity gives way and you tumble down to find your bottom? Is that the boundary? Or is the boundary the physical edge? Or is the boundary the guardrail that's at least a few inches, if not a few feet, from the physical edge? That guardrail that keeps you from getting too close, and if you don't get too close, you're not going to be at risk of falling. All of these are boundaries, but only one of them is designed to keep us safe. Our boundaries must be constructed with this in mind, to be safe, to keep us safe from relapse. One common tool used among sex addicts, especially in SAA, is the 3 circles. I've placed a link to the 3 circles pamphlet from the ISO of SAA and the worksheet from the Houston Area Intergroup in the video description. Here's how it works. Draw 3 concentric circles. If it's been a long time since high school geometry, concentric means they are all different sizes but have the same center point. Either make them big enough to write in or label them so you can make a list later, for when you're actually making your circles, of course. As a quick aside, if you have a very old SAA pamphlet called the 3 circles, it may be drawn as 3 rectangles, oddly enough. The smallest circle is the inner circle. Sometimes you'll see this circle colored red. That's because these are the behaviors we want to stop. Our sobriety begins and ends here. Anything that is harmful, we put here. Anything that we find addictive and compulsive, we put here. Anything we fear we might slip into if we kept in our addiction, we might want to put here. Think of this section as falling off the cliff. When we are in the inner circle, we call this acting out. The middle circle, sometimes colored yellow, is the next biggest. In this circle, we list those behaviors that either 1, we are not sure about, 2, are part of our acting out ritual, 3, lead us to act out. These behaviors are slippery, as we might slip and fall if we continue in them. We are past the guardrail, and we are at the edge, seeing how far we can lean over before our center of gravity gives way. The middle circle is a dangerous place to be. It is not a comfort zone, but a warning. If we spend too much time in the middle circle, we need to reevaluate our recovery and do something to jumpstart it. Finally, the biggest circle is the outer circle. This circle is our true boundary, the guardrail. It tells us what is healthy and to stay on that side. In the outer circle, we list behaviors we want to engage in. Anything that is healthy that promotes our well being, our recovery, our relationships with others, our spiritual life, and so on. It should be our biggest circle. It should be a list of all the things we should be doing whenever we are in our middle or inner circle. It is our best resource against acting out. A common question my sponsees ask is, what should I do when ... I respond, did you look at your outer circle? What is in your outer circle that you could be doing right now? Obviously, if they're talking to me at that time, that's probably something that's in their outer circle, and that's a good thing. One of the common activities in our outer circle is to go to meetings, contact recovery friends, contact your sponsor. Those are all givens, but those shouldn't be the only things. It should be anything that helps us recover, that helps keep our mind away from acting out, and is a healthy activity to engage in. Often we can make direct connections between behaviors in the outer, middle, and inner circles. For example, suppose I have visiting massage parlors in my inner circle. First, note that this is an example. The reason you act out may not be the same as someone else. Your mileage may vary. I may go to massage parlors because I crave some level of intimacy. While sober, I understand that the so-called intimacy is transactional. But while acting out, that human touch allows my emotions to make up its own reality. So I put massage parlors in my inner circle. For my middle circle, I would add anything that's part of the ritual. Cruising around looking for places that are open. Browsing the internet for known sites, for example. For my outer circle, what I should be doing is fostering intimacy with my loved ones. I am married, so I can put down going on a date with my wife, or cooking dinner for her, or bringing her flowers. Something that will foster that intimacy and better our relationship. And it might just make her day better as well. Other options, and these are good for people not in relationships, is to call friends, relatives, spend time with them, give your mother a call. I'm sure she misses you. And if you're not in a relationship, but would like to be, maybe it's time to talk to that special someone. You know who you're thinking of. As a quick second example, if you have a problem with pornography, put it in your inner circle. In your middle circle, you could list something like using the phone or internet without a real purpose, just browsing, scrolling through social media. Think of your own ritual. What is it? If you scroll through TikTok or X or some other social media site looking for porn, or if that's where you get your porn from, you might want to consider ending your relationship with social media at all. Finally, your outer circle could include actual social activities with people or healthier uses of the internet. Finally, it's always a good idea to have a long list of recovery partners and meetings that you can call upon. Please remember that these circles are best formed with your sponsor. But if you don't have a sponsor yet, write down something tentative because you need those boundaries. You don't want to wait for a sponsor to have boundaries, but these boundaries are best done with your sponsor. So you write down something now. Once you get your sponsor, you go over it with them and you make adjustments to it with your sponsor. Don't make adjustments to it in isolation, because then you'll start saying, well, I really want to do this right now, but it's in my inner circle. I'm going to make an exception this time. I'm going to change my boundaries. No. That's not how boundaries work. They need to be firm. They need to be achievable. They need to be attainable. And they need to be done with someone else who is not you, some other mind that is not yours. Why? Because you will fool yourself if you're trying to do it all yourself. I've done that before. We all have, especially when starting out. That's why a sponsor is so important to doing all of this. We have to have that other person who is not inside our head, who has been there, who has worked the steps, who is not inside our head, I'm saying that again, to help us get a good, clear perspective. Otherwise, if we do it ourselves, it's going to be clouded by our own poor judgment. The poor judgment that got us into the mess that we're in the first place. We need our sponsor to help us get out of ourselves. If you're in recovery, these boundaries are essential. You cannot recover without good, healthy, strong boundaries. Because otherwise, you're not going to know what you're recovering from. How do you know if you've recovered if you don't have the boundaries that tell you this is what recovery looks like for you? We have to have these. Every single one of us, if we're going to recover, we have to have these clear boundaries that we can follow. All right, if you have questions or comments, leave them below. Please like, subscribe, and share with others if you liked what you've heard. Thank you.